Take discussion under Rule 193. Sri Kalikesh Singh Dev ji.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अध्यक्षा महोदय। पठानकोट पर जो आतंकवादी हमला हुआ था वो एक महज आतंकवादी हमला नहीं था। वो हमारे देश के सशस्त्र बलों के बुनियाद को कमज़ोर करने की एक साजिश थी। वो दिखाना चाहते थे कि हमारे देश के आर्म फोर्सेस खुद की सुरक्षा करने में नाकाम हो तो देश की सुरक्षा क्या करें। And in that matter, madam, that's what the terrorists wanted to portray. That's why the incident of the terrorist attack on Pathankot is so important. It's not just a mere terrorist attack, it has a larger ramification. Madam Speaker, while we mourn the death of the 7 people who died in the attack, including the lieutenant from the NSG, and let me state before that the unequivocal support of my political party and myself as an individual to the government for their fight against terror. It doesn't matter which government holds the seat, we must in this House rise as one to combat the battle of terror, especially that of externally sponsored terror. Madam, while we mourn the lives of the death of the people who died in the attack, we must also question the reason why they died. Nowhere in the world, in terrorist attacks, sorry madam,
आपको नहीं, बहुत आवाज आ रही मेरे कान में, इसलिए प्लीज बोला।
Nowhere in the world do we have so much collateral damages from our security forces as we have seen in India. And it's not new to the Pathankot incident. We saw the damages in 2008 in the Taj incident. We have seen it again in Pathankot. Have we learnt our lessons from past incidents is what we have to ask ourselves. Did we have enough warning on these incidents? Did we act correctly? Did we act as per an established protocol to address counter-terrorism issues? Or do we act on the whims and fancies of the government in power? Was the decision-making centralized? Or was it fairly democratic, giving one command and control rather than what is being reported in the papers? Confusion among the forces on who rides that operation. This is what we must tend to ask ourselves, madam. The one good decision the government made, and we must congratulate them for that, is to ensure that all the critical assets, all the MiG-21s, all the attack helicopters were removed once the information was confirmed that a terrorist attack was going to take place. But madam, I don't know who to thank. I am not clear whether the decision to do that was taken by the defense minister, as it should have been, whether the decision to remove those attack helicopters were taken by the Home Minister or the NSA. There is confusion in this entire incident as to who took the decision, who masterminded the operation, and who does the credit or the blame finally rest at. There are conflicting reports, madam, in newspapers on this. The NSG was called in. The first and most critical decision. The NSG, which is an urban assault counter-terrorism unit used for hostage crises. The NSG was called in to battle against 4 to 6 terrorists. We didn't know how many terrorists there were until yesterday, when somehow after 3 months, the government has come to the conclusion there were 6 terrorists. Was the NSG the correct choice? This is the first question we need to ask the government. When there are 50,000 armed forces stationed in Pathankot who have experience fighting terrorism in Kashmir, was the NSG the correct choice? What was the reason for calling in the NSG? Does the Army Chief and the Air Force Chief not have faith in their own cadres to have battled such an encounter? Madam, what happened by the NSG being called in, and I call it a critical mistake with authority, what should have been a large force operation defending the perimeter of the Air Force base got converted into a small force operation.
What's it? Please, आपस में बातचीत नहीं. I know. बहुत सारी आपस में बातचीत हो रही है. मेरे भी कान तक पहुंच रही है. Without mic on, I don't understand. Yes.
Madam, this issue reflects the gravest of security threats for our nation. And I would urge the honorable members of the entire House to be patient, to support this issue by listening to it, by speaking on it, and supporting the government in their fight against terrorism. But Madam, as I was saying, by the NSG being called in, a large force operation which should have guarded the perimeter of the Air Force base got converted into a small force operation. The NSG, because they have a few in numbers, a mere 150 or 200, had to wait for the terrorists to attack. It took them 48 hours. It took them 48 hours to locate the terrorist and have the encounter. Whereas in Paris, when the terrorist attack happened, Madam, it took 2 hours to find the terrorists, to kill them, and finish the encounter. The encounter went on for more than a day. At a time when the Home Minister himself, on January 1st, tweeted, "I congratulate our armed forces and other security forces on successfully neutralizing all the 5 terrorists in Pathankot operation." This tweet was later retracted. The Defense Minister himself tweeted on January 2nd, this is Madam, at 9 p.m. "I compliment the security forces for swift and effective response. I salute the brave martyrs for making the ultimate sacrifice for protecting our motherland." Madam, the following night at 12:30 p.m., 1, 2, or 3 more terrorists were detected. Now, in a situation like this, Madam, in 2001, the GOM had published a report saying a crisis management group would be formed. The orders for addressing such a crisis was to come from the crisis management group. My first question to the Home Minister is, was a meeting convened of the crisis management group to address the issue? The crisis management group itself not only coordinates between different security agencies and intelligence agencies, it also monitors the message going out to the press, these statements by the ministers. If the meeting had been convened, then conflicting statements would have not gone out from the government. And Madam, again, this is not a political issue. It's a matter of establishing protocols. It's a matter of establishing procedure where we in the future can fight against terror. Madam, did the government have enough warning? On 31st of December, at 8 o'clock, Ikhtar Singh, the taxi driver, was killed. At 3 o'clock in the morning, this SP of police, Salvinder Singh, was kidnapped. Kidnapped earlier, he called the Punjab police and confirmed to them that 4 to 5 members dressed in army fatigues, having assault rifles, had kidnapped me, and I have got free. I understand from Punjab sources in the Punjab police, from newspaper reports, that the Punjab police was trying to get in touch with the Home Ministry, was trying to get in touch with the NSG, but they could not get through. The offices were shut. The mobiles were shut. Don't we, in a country like ours, have a system where we can actually communicate with the security forces, intelligence agencies? Or do we have to wait for 9:30, 10 in the morning for the officers to come before we can communicate to them? Madam, this is not new. Even when the Indian Airlines plane was taken hostage, the crisis management group had met. They tried calling Amritsar at that time to stop the plane. They tried calling various airport authorities. The numbers had changed then. They could not get through. Is this the level of preparedness that we have as a nation? And I'm not blaming one party or the other. What I am trying to point out to Madam is the need to address this issue. Madam, we had more than 48 hours of intelligence warning. At 9 in the morning on January 1st, the IB had got confirmation about the kidnapping of the SP and the killing of the taxi driver. Madam, it did not think it necessary to try and warn the defense establishments, the two major targets, government targets in Pathankot, that such a threat was emanating out of in that region? It's only at lunchtime, when they found the phones, recorded the messages of the SP's phone which was being used by the terrorist. And when the terrorist himself said, I am at the base, I am going in for a suicide attack, the mother of the terrorist asked, Tumne khana khaya bachcha? These are recorded conversations, madam. It's only when the terrorist himself says, I am at the base, I am going to attack, then the intelligence agencies wake up and say the attack is imminent. Madam, the capabilities of our intelligence agencies are not for collecting information from newspaper reports or from websites, as has been proved in the past. It's the capability is judged by synthesizing that information into collectible, actionable intelligence, which can be acted upon. 3:30 was when the NSA called the meeting with the Joint Chief. The decision to send the NSG was taken at 4:30. The NSG arrived at 8:30 in the evening. But madam, was the NSA aware, or was the Home Ministry aware, that the NSG does not have long-term night vision, long-range night vision? They are unable to effectively deal with encounters at night because they don't have the equipment. Crores have been given, but not spent. 72 items are still missing from the NSG's requirement, which were listed after 2008. Madam, do we still keep waiting for governments to change in order to fulfill the requirement? Are we serious on our fight against terror? Madam, the IB has 20,000 personnel, 5,000 of which are in the field. That means some are kept for analysis. Majority of them are drivers, peons, clerks, etc. The RAW has 9,000 operatives. Madam, in the US itself, there are 500,000 intelligence operatives which have the highest security clearance. Are we prepared to fight against terror? Are we serious about our fight against terror? That's a question, madam, we must ask of ourselves. Unless we equip our forces, unless we equip our intelligence agencies in order to try and do their job properly, we will always fail. And I say fail, madam, for a certain reason. A terrorist attack is judged on 3 or 4 basic points. By them achieving their objective or not, by us being able to stop them in a timely manner, by ensuring that we have low collateral damage. Madam, again I ask, did we need to lose those 7 people? The lieutenant from the NSG who died by the bomb, a rigged bomb on the dead body of a terrorist. He died and 4 other people were injured. Madam, the army faces this routinely in Kashmir. If the army had been deployed, if the combing had started, if the perimeters had been guarded, the army is used to these machinations of the terrorist. They are used to the fact that these kind of tricks are involved. Madam, the NSG, even though it was being headed by an army in operation, ultimately lies under the police. They are not for counter-terrorism. They are for urban assault and hostage situation, as has been reported in the papers, a statement made by the NSG itself, the commander itself. Madam, there is confusion about the manner in which decisions have been taken. I would like a categorical answer from the Home Minister that in this particular encounter, or for that matter in encounters in the future, who is the person we must turn to for accountability? Who is the person we must turn to for decision making? Is there an established protocol under which these decisions are taken? Or is it left again to the government in power to decide? I know in the past also, the NSA had usurped the decision-making power. And it may be a well-thought-out decision of the government to do so, but then he must tell us that in the fight against terrorism and counterinsurgency matters, and in hostage situation, it is not the Home Ministry, it is not the Defense Ministry, but the NSA which is responsible. Even though tomorrow a general of the army may be kidnapped, can the Defense Ministry wash his hands off at that time? Madam, this particular incident brings to light many deficiencies in our system. 50 kgs of ammunition, 30 kgs of grenade were taken in the SP's car for 30 kilometers. From the point they took the car into the perimeter of the base. Nobody saw it. The Punjab police, the other security agencies, this is a border town. Nobody saw it. Madam, the Defense Services Corps used to guard the armed force bases. For 24 hours, could not detect the terrorists moving around. And they moved around, madam, from 4 points. From point 1 to point 2 to point 3 to point 4. For 24 hours, nobody in the defense establishment saw it.
Yes.
What were they doing? Madam,
Now,
the NIA went to investigate. I understand, madam. I appreciate it. I'm going to finish fairly quickly, madam.
Thank you.
Please give me a few minutes. Few minutes. Madam, the NIA went to investigate. As I was telling you earlier, we had no idea how many terrorists there were. It has just been informed to us in today's newspaper that 6 terrorists existed. What was the SP doing at 2:30 in the morning? Driving in a car with his cook and his friend, in his official car. Madam, we know Punjab, a diamond jeweler, so is reported. We know in Punjab, the nexus of narcotics smuggling, arms smuggling, is repeatedly being used by our neighbor to go on infiltrating our borders. Why can't we put a stop to that? The army controls 20 kilometers of the border. The BSF, 34. They have been asking you for more troops, but troops have not been given. Madam, as per the NIA investigation, the SP was not involved. As per the police investigation after that, he has been left free. And I don't know the facts, so I cannot comment on it. But I would highly suspect that there is a nexus somewhere. We have a mole. These attacks would not have been planned without support from our side. They knew the layout of our camp. In fact, the NSG did not know the layout of the camp. They had to be appraised. That left them short-handed. The terrorists knew the layout of our camp. Pakistan, and I am all for friendly relationship with Pakistan. The Prime Minister went and had the birthday celebration of the Pakistani Premier. And I support good relationship between India and Pakistan, madam. But madam, they must also be held accountable. Having a cup of tea with them or having dinner with them is not the solution. At what cost do these gestures hold? Madam, I remember the last tenure. It was the leader of the Rajya Sabha in the last parliament tenure who told me that not talking to Pakistan is also a strategic decision. If we do talk to Pakistan, we must hold them accountable. We know from the recording that Jaish-e-Mohammed was involved in coordinating this terrorist attack. Why is it that Masood Azhar is still free, roaming free in Pakistan? Are we bringing enough pressure on Pakistan to arrest him and not just give us snips and bits and make us happy? Madam, lastly, I would like to ask you, through you, in this entire incident, our country suffers. We keep laying political blame game on each other. But we know, consecutively, even though we have tried with our limited resources to shore up our defense system, to shore up our anti-counter-terrorism systems, we continue to be one step behind the terrorists. Madam, it is time this entire House wakes up to reality. It is time that we as a government put our resources with the fight against terror. We shore up our intelligence agencies, madam, because we know there's a huge deficiency there. We ensure that a strict protocol is maintained, a procedure is defined and announced, which is enacted in the US, but it remains just a procedure here in India, whereby we can actually ascertain and deal with such terrorist measures, terrorist encounters. Madam, with that, I would like to thank you for allowing me to raise this discussion. Thank you very much.
Yes. The House stands